They say you should never judge a book by its cover. But on that cold Tuesday evening, those officers didn't just judge me. They humiliated me. They mocked me. They treated me like I was nothing. And they had no idea who they were dealing with. My name is Margaret. I'm 52 years old. I drive a 15-year-old Honda Civic. I wear simple clothes from department stores. I don't wear expensive jewelry. I don't carry designer bags. To anyone looking at me, I'm just another middle-aged woman trying to get through life. And that's exactly what those police officers saw that night. Just another nobody they could push around. But they were so wrong. Let me take you back to that evening. It was around 7 p.m. I was driving home from the grocery store. I had bags of vegetables in my back seat. I was tired. I'd spent the day organizing files in my home office, preparing for a lecture I was giving at the law school the next week. Retirement hadn't slowed me down much. I still consulted. I still taught. I still cared deeply about justice. The traffic light ahead turned yellow. I slowed down. I stopped. I waited. Everything normal. Everything routine. Then I saw the flashing lights behind me. Blue and red. Bright against the darkening sky. My heart did that little jump it always does when you see police lights, even when you've done nothing wrong. I pulled over to the side of the road. I put my car in park. I rolled down my window. I placed my hands on the steering wheel where they could be seen. I knew the protocol. I'd spent 30 years in the criminal justice system. I knew exactly how these stops were supposed to go. 2 officers approached. One on each side of my car. The one on my side was young. Maybe late 20s. He had that cocky walk. That swagger. The kind that comes from wearing a badge and thinking it makes you invincible. He tapped on my window with his flashlight. Not gently. Hard enough to make me flinch. License and registration, he barked. No greeting. No explanation. Just a command. I reached slowly for my purse. May I ask why you pulled me over, officer? He smirked. Actually smirked. You ran a red light, ma'am. I felt my stomach tighten. I stopped at the yellow light. I was completely stopped before it turned red. Are you arguing with me? His voice got louder. Aggressive. I said you ran a red light. The other officer, older, maybe 40, leaned down to look in my passenger window. He was shining his flashlight around my car. Into my back seat. At my grocery bags. What've we got here? The younger officer said, looking at my license. Margaret Chin. 52 years old. This address current? Yes, officer. This your car? Yes, officer. He looked at my old Civic like it was a piece of trash. Really? This is what you drive? Where are you coming from? The grocery store. At 7 p.m.? On a Tuesday? He said it like I'd confessed to a crime. Yes. I work from home. I shop when it's convenient. The older officer opened my back door without asking. He started going through my grocery bags. Touching my vegetables. My bread. My personal items. Hey. I said, my voice sharp. You need a warrant to search my vehicle. The younger officer leaned in close. Too close. I could smell coffee on his breath. You giving me attitude, lady? Because I can make this a lot worse for you. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. I wanted to tell him exactly who I was. Exactly what I knew. Exactly how many cases I'd presided over involving police misconduct. But something told me to wait. To watch. To see just how far they would go. Step out of the vehicle, he ordered. On what grounds? On the grounds that I'm telling you to. Now get out before I drag you out. I unbuckled my seatbelt slowly. My mind was racing. This wasn't just a traffic stop anymore. This was harassment. This was abuse of power. And I was going to remember every single detail. I stepped out of my car. The evening air was cold against my skin. There were other cars passing by. People watching. Some slowing down to see what was happening. Face the car. Hands on the hood. "Officer, this is completely unnecessary." I said, "Hands on the hood." He grabbed my arm. Roughly. Hard enough to leave marks. The older officer was still rummaging through my car. "We got an anonymous tip about suspicious activity in this area," he called out. "Drug trafficking. We have reason to believe you might be involved." My mouth fell open. "Drug trafficking? Are you serious?" "Dead serious, Grandma," the younger one said with a nasty laugh. "You'd be surprised how many people your age are running drugs these days. Think they're above suspicion." "Grandma." He called me Grandma. Like I was some doddering old woman who didn't know her rights. Who didn't know the law. Who would just take whatever they dished out. He patted me down. His hands were rough. Invasive. Humiliating. I stood there, hands on my hood, feeling the cold metal under my palms, feeling the eyes of strangers watching me be degraded on the side of the road. "Nothing here," the older officer finally said, stepping back from my car. He'd made a complete mess of my grocery bags. My vegetables were scattered across the back seat. "Well, we still need to take her in for questioning," the younger officer said. She was acting suspicious. Argumentative. Possibly under the influence. "I'm not under the influence of anything," I said, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. "We'll let the station decide that. Turn around. Hands behind your back." I felt the cold metal of handcuffs click around my wrists. In 30 years of serving the law, I had never been handcuffed. I had never been on this side of the system. And now here I was, being treated like a criminal by two officers who had no idea what they were doing. They put me in the back of their patrol car. The seat was hard plastic. Uncomfortable. Designed to be unpleasant. Through the metal grates separating the front and back seats, I could hear them talking. "Another easy one," the younger officer said. "These older ladies never fight back. They just take it." "Yeah, well, we still gotta process her. Fill out the paperwork. Waste of time if you ask me. She ran that red light, though. I saw it." The older officer laughed. "Sure you did, rookie. Sure you did." My jaw clenched. He knew. The older officer knew I hadn't run the light. This was just a power trip. Just two cops bullying someone they thought couldn't fight back. The drive to the station took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of sitting in uncomfortable silence, my wrists aching from the too tight handcuffs, my mind cataloging every violation of procedure, every abuse of authority. When we arrived at the station, they walked me in through the back entrance. Past other officers. Past administrative staff. Everyone stared. Some looked away quickly. Others watched with curiosity. An older Asian woman in handcuffs. What could she have possibly done? They took me to an interrogation room. Gray walls. Metal table. 2 chairs. A camera in the corner that may or may not have been recording. They left me there, still handcuffed, for 20 minutes. I sat in silence. I didn't fidget. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I just sat and waited. Because I knew something they didn't. I knew how this was going to end. Finally, the door opened. The younger officer came in with a folder. He sat across from me. Spread some papers on the table like he was about to interrogate a major criminal. "All right, Margaret. Let's talk about what you were really doing tonight." "I was driving home from the grocery store." "Come on. You can do better than that." We know about the red light. We know about your suspicious behavior. Just tell us the truth and this'll go easier for you. I looked him straight in the eye. I would like to make a phone call. That's my right. He leaned back in his chair. Phone call? Sure. You can call your husband. Your son. Whoever. They can come pick you up after we're done processing you. I don't need anyone to pick me up. I need to make one phone call. He shrugged. Fine. Whatever. Make your call. Then we're doing a full statement. He took off my handcuffs. Finally. My wrists were red and sore. I rubbed them as he slid a phone across the table to me. I picked it up. I dialed a number I knew by heart. A number I hadn't needed to call in 3 years, but one I knew would still work. It rang twice. District Attorney's Office. This is Sarah. Sarah, this is Margaret Chen. I need to speak with District Attorney Morrison. Immediately. There was a pause. I could hear her intake of breath. Judge Chen? Is that really you? The young officer's face went pale. Judge Chen. Those 2 words hung in the air like a bomb about to explode. Yes, Sarah. It's really me. Please put James on the phone. Tell him it's urgent. Right away, Your Honor. Please hold. The officer was staring at me now. His cocky confidence was evaporating. Judge, he whispered. I didn't answer. I waited. 30 seconds later, a familiar voice came through the phone. Margaret? What's wrong? Sarah said it was urgent. James, I'm at the 5th precinct. I've been arrested. Or rather, detained. On false charges. By 2 officers who decided to abuse their authority tonight. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, in a voice I'd heard him use in courtrooms when he was absolutely furious, he said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't say another word to anyone. Thank you, James. I hung up the phone. I folded my hands on the table. I looked at the young officer, who now looked like he might vomit. Judge, he said again, his voice cracking. You're a judge. I was. For 30 years. Federal court. I retired 3 years ago. But I still maintain my relationships. My connections. My reputation. The door burst open. The older officer came in. What's going on? Why is she making calls? She's a judge, the younger one whispered. She's a federal judge. The color drained from the older officer's face too. What? I corrected. I'm retired. But yes. Federal Judge Margaret Chen. I presided over criminal cases for 3 decades. Including several high-profile cases involving police misconduct and abuse of authority. The older officer's hand started shaking. This is a mistake. We were just doing our job. The red light. I didn't run a red light. You both know I didn't run a red light. You pulled me over because you saw an older woman in an old car and thought you could bully her. Thought you could harass her. Thought she wouldn't fight back. No, that's not. You searched my vehicle without probable cause. You handcuffed me without proper justification. You brought me here on false pretenses. And you did it all because you thought I was nobody. Just another ordinary person you could push around. The younger officer stood up so fast his chair fell over. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This was a misunderstanding. We can let you go right now. No charges. No report. Just a mistake. I stood up slowly. Oh, there will be a report. There will be a very thorough report. Because this isn't about me. This is about every other ordinary person you've done this to. Every other person who didn't have connections. Who didn't have a phone number to call. who just had to take your abuse and move on with their lives. The door opened again. This time it was a man in an expensive suit. District Attorney James Morrison. Tall. Distinguished. Furious. Behind him were 3 other people I recognized. Deputy Chief of Police Sandra Williams. Internal Affairs Director Marcus Brown. And my former colleague, Judge Patricia Howard. The 2 officers looked like they wanted to melt into the floor. "Margaret," James said, his voice gentle now. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, James." Angry, but fine. He turned to the officers. His voice turned to ice. "You too. Out. Now. Chief Williams will deal with you." They scrambled out of the room like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Sandra Williams stepped forward. She was in her late 50s. Sharp. No nonsense. She'd cleaned up corruption in 3 precincts in the last 5 years. "Judge Chen, I am so sorry. This is inexcusable." "Yes, it is," I said. "But Sandra, I don't want apologies. I want action. I want a full investigation. I want to know how many other people these officers have done this to. I want their records pulled. I want every stop they've made in the last year reviewed." "Consider it done," she said firmly. "I'll personally oversee the investigation." Marcus Brown, from Internal Affairs, was already taking notes. "Judge Chen, I'll need a full statement from you. Every detail. Timeline. Exact words spoken. Everything. You'll have it. In writing. Tomorrow morning." Patricia Howard came over and put her hand on my shoulder. "Come on, Margaret. Let's get you out of here. I'll drive you home." As we walked out of that interrogation room, past the main bullpen, every officer in the building stood up. Some out of respect. Some out of shock. Some out of fear. Word had already spread. Judge Chen had been brought in. Wrongfully arrested. Humiliated. And now there would be hell to pay. The ride home with Patricia was quiet at first. She was one of my oldest friends. We'd come up through the system together. We'd fought the same battles. Faced the same discrimination as Asian American women in a system that didn't always want us there. "How are you really?" she asked as we pulled onto my street. "Shaken," I admitted. "I've seen this happen to others thousands of times. I've presided over cases. I've listened to testimony. But experiencing it yourself. Patricia, it's different. It's violating." "I know," she said softly. "I'm sorry you went through this." "I'm not," I said, surprising myself. "I'm not sorry. Because now I understand. Really understand. What it feels like to be powerless. To be judged. To be dismissed because of how you look." She pulled into my driveway. My old Honda was already there, delivered by one of the officers who wasn't involved in the incident. My groceries were ruined, of course. But that was a small price to pay. "Thank you for coming," I said. "For being there." "Always," she replied. "What are you going to do now?" I smiled. A cold smile. A determined smile. "I'm going to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Not in this city. Not on my watch." The next morning, I was up at 5 a.m. I wrote my statement. 12 pages. Single-spaced. Every detail. Every word. Every violation. I sent it to Internal Affairs, to the district attorney, to the police chief, and to the mayor's office. By noon, the story had broken. Local news picked it up. Retired federal judge wrongfully detained by local police. The phones started ringing. Reporters. Lawyers. Other judges. People I hadn't spoken to in years. But the calls that mattered most were from ordinary people. People who had been through similar experiences. People who had been bullied by those same two officers. People who had been too afraid to speak up. Now they had someone to speak up with them. The investigation moved quickly. Sandra Williams was true to her word. Within a week, they had pulled every stop, every report, every complaint involving those two officers. The pattern was clear. They targeted people they thought were vulnerable. Older people. Women. Minorities. People driving older cars. People who looked like they wouldn't fight back. There were 23 complaints in the last 18 months alone. 23 people who had been harassed, searched without cause, detained without proper justification. And those were just the ones who had bothered to file reports. How many others had just accepted it and moved on? The younger officer was fired within 2 weeks. The older officer was suspended pending a full hearing. But that wasn't enough for me. I spent the next 3 months working with the district attorney's office, with internal affairs, with community groups. We developed a new training program. New accountability measures. New procedures for traffic stops. Body cameras became mandatory. Every stop. Every interaction. Recorded. I also started teaching again. Not at the law school. At the police academy. Teaching new recruits about civil rights. About respect. About the responsibility that comes with wearing a badge. Some of the veteran officers didn't like it. They thought I was too harsh. Too critical. They said I was making their jobs harder. Good. Their jobs should be hard. Power without accountability is tyranny. One afternoon, about 4 months after the incident, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Hello? Judge Chin? It was a woman's voice. Older. Hesitant. My name is Dorothy Martinez. I saw your story on the news. About what happened to you. Yes? Those same officers stopped me last year. They searched my car. They made me stand on the side of the road in the rain. They said I looked suspicious. I'm 73 years old. I was driving home from church. My heart ached. I'm so sorry that happened to you, Dorothy. I didn't report it. I was too scared. I thought no one would believe me. But when I saw what happened to you, when I saw that you fought back, I thought maybe I could too. Is it too late? It's never too late, I told her. Would you be willing to give a statement? To add your voice to the others? Yes, she said, her voice stronger now. Yes, I would. Dorothy was the 24th person to come forward. By the end of the year, there were 37. 37 people who had been mistreated by officers who thought they could get away with it. Who thought their victims were just ordinary people who didn't matter. But we all matter. Every single one of us. Whether you're a federal judge or a grandmother coming home from church. Whether you drive a new BMW or a 15-year-old Honda. Whether you wear designer clothes or department store bargains. Your dignity matters. Your rights matter. You matter. The civil lawsuits started piling up. The city settled most of them. The payouts were significant. But more importantly, changes were made. Real, systemic changes. The police chief implemented the new policies we developed. Body cameras. Better training. Stricter accountability. It wasn't perfect. Systems never change overnight. But it was a start. One evening, about a year after the incident, I was at a community meeting. We were discussing further reforms. Better community policing. More transparency. As I was leaving, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been more than 25. Judge Chin? I just wanted to say thank you. You're welcome. But what are you thanking me for? My mom was one of the people who came forward. Because of your case. She'd been carrying that shame and anger for so long. But when she saw you fight back, it gave her the courage to speak up too. It changed her. It changed our whole family. I felt tears prick my eyes. What's your mother's name? Dorothy Martinez. I hugged her. Right there in the parking lot. This young woman I'd never met before. But who represented everything I'd been fighting for. Tell your mother she's incredibly brave, I said. I will. And Judge Chin? I just started law school. I want to do what you do. Fight for people who can't fight for themselves. Then you're going to do wonderful things, I told her. As I drove home that night, in my old Honda Civic, wearing my simple clothes, I thought about that evening a year ago. How angry I'd been. How humiliated. How violated. But also how it had woken something up in me. Something I thought I'd retired from. The fight. The fire. The absolute refusal to let injustice stand. Those officers thought I was just an ordinary person. Someone they could push around. Someone who wouldn't matter. They were wrong about the ordinary part. But they were also wrong about something else. Ordinary people are the most extraordinary people of all. They're the ones who get up every day and face a world that often doesn't see them. Doesn't value them. Doesn't respect them. And they keep going anyway. The single mother working 2 jobs. The elderly man taking the bus to his doctor's appointment. The immigrant family trying to build a new life. The teenager being followed in a store because of how he looks. These are the people who matter most. These are the people the system is supposed to protect. And when it fails them, when it abuses them, when it treats them like they don't matter, that's when people like me have to step up. I may be retired from the bench. But I'll never retire from fighting for justice. Because at 52, I learned something I thought I already knew. I learned that justice isn't just about laws and procedures. It's about dignity. It's about respect. It's about recognizing the humanity in every person, regardless of what they drive, what they wear, or what they look like. Those 2 officers made a mistake that night. They judged a book by its cover. They saw an ordinary person and thought they could get away with abuse. But here's the thing about ordinary people. Sometimes, they're not so ordinary after all. Sometimes, they're federal judges with 3 decades of experience and a phone full of important contacts. Sometimes, they're retired professionals who still have plenty of fight left in them. And sometimes, they're just everyday people who refuse to be treated like they don't matter. Who stand up. Who speak out. Who say, no more. That's what happened next. That's what those officers never saw coming. Not just my fight. But the fight of 37 other people who found their voices. Who refused to stay silent. Who proved that ordinary people are capable of extraordinary courage. I still drive my old Honda. I still wear simple clothes. I still shop for groceries on Tuesday evenings. But now, when I see those blue and red lights, I don't feel fear anymore. I feel resolve. Because I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. And I know that no one, no officer, no system, no authority, can take away my dignity unless I let them. And I will never let them. So if you're reading this, if you've ever been made to feel small, if you've ever been judged or dismissed or mistreated because someone thought you were just ordinary, remember this story. Remember that you matter. Your voice matters. Your dignity matters. Don't stay silent. Speak up. Fight back. Be the extraordinary person hiding inside that ordinary exterior. Because the world needs more people who refuse to accept injustice. Who refuse to be pushed around. Who refuse to let abuse of power go unchallenged. The world needs more ordinary people who turn out to be absolutely extraordinary. And maybe, just maybe, that person is you. Write in the comments if you've ever experienced something similar. Have you ever been judged unfairly? Have you ever stood up to authority when they were wrong? Share your story. Your voice matters. And if this story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you of your own power, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more stories like this. More reminders that we're all stronger than we think. More proof that justice, real justice, is worth fighting for. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, never let anyone make you feel like you don't matter. Because you do. We all do. Every single one of us.